Okay, so now I just wanted to show you, now that I've lined things up, I now have um, two angles on the same footage. So I'm just going to do a couple cuts, and I've already worked with this material before. So where did I want to do that? Somewhere in there. So I want to do a couple cuts so you can see how you can work between the footage. And, I'm just kind of doing these at random. So here's the beginning of my main footage. And then as she goes up, I switch over to the close-up. And then back. I would stay in the close-up longer than that. Okay, back. And yeah. Okay, right about there, right? Okay. So I know this footage a little bit. So I'm in, and then I make my next shift right about there. Now notice that I made that cut with the action, and so it looks pretty seamless. If I move that over, let's say, you kind of see the cut more. That's my opinion anyway. So generally speaking, cutting on action is a good rule of thumb. There are reasons to not do that all the time, but it can help hide your cuts a little bit. Okay, so I don't need this footage underneath, so I'm just going to trim that away. There are layers to this. Aha, sorry, I'm going to go back one sec because I want to talk to you about sound. Okay, so in a situation like this, let's say I want to keep the sound that was happening in the room. I'm going to go over and lock that primary track's sound, and then I'm going to lock the secondary track's video. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete the secondary track's audio, the sound, so that I don't have to deal with it anymore. Then I can unlock the video and the sound, and now I can make cuts, and I'm not going to lose the video, that secondary video that I have in there. Okay, so I'm going to cut that away, and then, whoops, sorry, do that again. All right, you're seeing me work. Get over it. So again, I'm going to hit the letter C for the razor tool, and then the letter V for the selection tool, and then delete. Okay, that was easy. So now I have these two cuts. Now if I look over here, she's too far away from me. Now this is HD footage, it's full HD, 1920 by 1080. But I can zoom this in a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead and open this up and open up my effect control panel. And I'm going to reopen the motion component, and I'm going to zoom in. Oh, too much. Yeah, let's go 30%. I think it looks good actually. I need to change my position. Bring that down a little bit. Look for the bottom there. Yeah, okay. So if I turn that off, right, see how far that away that is? It's just a little bit, but it makes a big difference. And it still looks good. Now, if I was to blow this up on a big screen TV, 50-inch TV, 60-inch TV, whatever, it might look a little bit soft. But for online use, which is what most of this stuff is going to be, where it's going to be seen, it's completely fine. Nobody's going to see it in their computer browser. And if you want it to still look good, like if you're worried about that, then 25% you can get away with. 20% definitely is fine. 30%, I'm at 30% right now. It's pushing a little bit, but I know it's fine for most uses. Anyway, okay, so I've made that a little bit bigger. That cuts, I think, better. together with the close-up shot. Okay, then it comes back over here and she falls. Now I can do that with all the footage, but that's just an example. So from that point on, I'm just making cuts back and forth to create the sequence that I like. Now, I want to show you one other thing. If you ever need to steady footage, let's do it here. Just cut this out. I had a lot of shaky footage on this. We're going to get a steady cam for the program. Somewhere in here. All right. How about, yeah, that's good. Okay, so C, so around there, V, take that away. All right, it's just rough. Okay, C. All right, so I want to take out some of the camera shake on this. So I'm going to, it's already open. And I'm going to go to, where are you, Warp Stabilizer, over in the effects panel. Let me type it in. Okay, so Warp, there it is. So under Distort, so I could remember the name. I know the name, so I was able to type it in that way, but it's under Distort, and then it's called Warp Stabilizer. This is basically going to stabilize the footage. Okay, so I'm going to drag that into my clip. And you see that red line? That means it's going to have to be rendered before I can really see how it's working. So I'm going to pause the video here while it analyzes. It can take a couple minutes. Okay, so it has analyzed the footage, just took a couple minutes, and so then I have to go over here to the effects window, and I will need to scroll down. Now I can close up the color, Lumetri color, because I'm not working on that now, so I can see this more easily. Okay, so then under Warp Stabilizer, here are the things you need to check. Should be under Smooth Motion, but under Result for stabilization. Smoothness you can change depending on the footage. I tend to think that 10 to 15, maybe 20% is best because it keeps the naturalness of the camera movement. It also doesn't crop it as much while smoothing it out. So 15% is what I used for this. The method, subspace warp, is the highest quality, but it actually, for our purposes, position, scale, and rotation, is faster and still looks good. So that's what I'm using and what I would recommend you using, unless you're like outputting your dance film to a dance film for submission to a film festival or something like that. And that's it. Okay, so those are my settings. And then the red bar is still there, but I can now I've changed. One thing you can do is you can change your resolution, okay, on your viewer window so that it'll play back a little easier. So, because it's still not fully processed. So that way I can see, I can't really see it. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and render this. Let me show you how you do that. So I'm going to set my playhead there and there, just before and after the clip. And then I'm going to go up to sequence and I'm going to say render in to out. And shouldn't take long. Yeah, here it's going. So this is going to then we'll be able to see how it looks when it's completely done, how it'll look in the final product. Oh, it's going slow. I'm going to go ahead and pause the video again. I'll be back in a sec. Okay, so that part has rendered, is processed. So now we can see, take it off quarter resolution. Okay, so now we can see what that looks like now. So now it's handheld. And you can see camera movement. It's much more fluid and smooth. So I think that's enough for this tutorial. I hope that that helps. Oh, I guess I have, maybe I close that sequence. Yeah, that's enough for now. Okay, as always, let me know if you have any questions, and I hope this helps. Thanks.